Well, hello. Thank you for joining. Today, Wednesday, February 22nd. And as you by now might know, I am living in Colorado and I'm experiencing the longest winter of my life. Today, here it is, February 22nd. Hello, beautiful sister. It is
Bye.
snowing again. We're going to have snow, lots of snow coming. Ah, my goodness. It's so wonderful to see you.
Nice to see you, beautiful.
Yes, hello, Crystal. Good to see you in South Africa.
Hello. Ah,
You're in
is
South
that
Africa,
Jody?
Crystal? Hi.
Jody.
Hi
Yeah.
there. Wow.
Yeah,
All ends of the world.
indeed.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys are here. So thanks for coming to keep me company because um I was just about to start recording the lesson and you guys popped in and here we've got our sweet sister who's joining us, Miss Dondra. Good to have you here. And so let me just share a couple of quick little sort of an announcement. Um, as I was preparing for this morning's lesson, and those of you who've been with me for a long time know that they come up right before they're supposed to be shared. So there's really not like a preparation that I know the day before. I don't even know hours before what's going to happen. And I have been just a feel that we need to go back to almost well, not almost, to the classroom style, because there was something that I wanted to share today, and I needed my flip chart, but I don't have that set up. And I'm here in this little office that my daughter got for us, and it's not set up. As a matter of fact, everything I brought from Colorado is stored right in front of me. So it's storage slash desk and office. And I did bring one of my paintings that my mom made from Atlanta. Nobody wanted this one when I was giving away things. So I brought it with me and it's there for now until it's not there anymore. But anyway, so when you come next week, I will be set up with a flip chart because the sensation that I'm getting, the intuitive knowingness that I'm getting is that the world needs a classroom style, not just these transmissions, but also back to the simplicity of showing what the Course in Miracles is about. And through the visuals, it just becomes so much easier to grasp for a lot of people. And it's easier for me to convey the simplicity of the choice that we're making. It is not easy. It is not easy at all to choose to align with what is true about us. It is so challenging for people to focus on our eternal energetic self and not the body. Now, that doesn't mean we don't take care of the body, but the body can be primary if what is going to be primary is the truth of who you are. Because the truth of who we are is that we are infinite beings. And if we don't cultivate a relationship with our infinite nature, we operate as if we are a finite being. And as long as we're operating as a finite being, we are going to miss the opportunity to really get to know what is possible for those of us who really commit to operating from our infinite self, meaning that's where freedom comes from. If you are tending to the body and all that is physical with its transient, its purpose is transient, temporary. It's here for a very short blip of time in all of creation. You know, by some estimates, some scientists have said that this planet has been here for billions of years. Now, if we take billions of years inside of eternity, I don't know how many more billions beyond billions is eternity. I have no clue. But if you take billions and then from billions, you extrapolate one lifetime, let's say 100 years, we're talking about an insignificant dot. The ego has us so focused on this insignificant dot that we miss that we get to be here present to watch whatever is happening now as a representative of that which is infinite, so that we can put it in context, so that we can bring all of the love that is infinite into a finite moment and extend it. But we can't come here to extend love when we think this is all there is and we're afraid we're not going to get any. So we've got to reverse the mindset. And through visuals, for me, that just seems to be an easier way, because like I said, if you put everything in context, the lifetime that we have is truly insignificant in who we are eternally. So if we took those same 100 years of a lifetime and we pulled the 1 hour, no, 1 hour and 50 minutes that we're going to spend together today, it's an insignificant amount in the whole of a 100-year lifetime. But yet, how many of us enjoy 1 hour of any given day, totally knowing that we've got many more coming? You know, I'm here with my little grandbaby, and my goodness, this little child, this little being of love and light is present in the moment, enjoying what is. If he's playing, he's playing. If he's going potty, he's going potty. If he's eating, he's eating. You know, he's not multitasking. He's doing the one thing and just being with it until he decides he doesn't want to be there anymore. Then we move on to the next thing. Such a beautiful teacher for me to be sitting with right now, because it's absolutely amazing to sit in the presence of one who is living completely by love and only love. And that is absolutely just beautiful and priceless. All righty. So here's where we're going to go today. So if you've got your Course in Miracles book, we're going to go to chapter 16. Now, last week, I was inspired to go to chapter 16, section 6, called The Bridge to the Real World. Many of you who've been in classes with me have heard me say this over and over and over and over ad nauseum. Those who are waking up are on a bridge. The beginning of the bridge is when we begin to realize that there's got to be another way, that what was programmed to us in our mind in the world is not all there is. As a matter of fact, we know most of it is nonsensical. It sounds idiotic. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds selfish. It sounds greedy. It sounds like it favors some over others. It does not make sense that this world that is so rich in so many ways, some have and some don't. That if we are intelligent beings, how come we can't come to the table and really, truly have peace on earth? Well, how is that possible? How can some throw food away at the end of the day, which I've done many times, and others have not even a morsel to eat? When you begin to feel into what's happening here, it doesn't make sense. If you begin to realize that you are a divine being made in the image of God, it doesn't make sense that you are just considered this what do they call him, sinner. It doesn't make sense. As a child, some of those things did not make sense that were being indoctrinated in my head, but I didn't have anybody to talk to about this. So when I began to experience the big shift in consciousness that was having me start my journey on the bridge, it happened for me with the passing of my mother. That sent me to really question what was going on in terms of, life and death, because it did not make sense that my mom was going to die and go to hell. And for me, growing up Catholic, that's where sinners go. And I knew my mother, she was a sinner, as was I by the definitions of the Catholic Church. So when we get comfortable with the idea that we go on a search, Joseph Campbell calls it the hero's journey. You go on a search and you begin to travel across a bridge. What that bridge is you move from this bank of knowledge to this bank of knowledge. You literally, going through college, you are on a bridge, an educational bridge. So when we enter the spiritual journey, what the Course in Miracles wants us to understand is that we're traveling across, the title of that is The Bridge to the Real World. So if you think about it, If there is a bridge to the real world and I'm traveling that bridge, then I must be leaving the unreal world. And we need to get comfortable with what the Course in Miracles is attempting to teach us. And not just a Course in Miracles, all teachings that teach truth teach the same thing. God, creator, source, spirit, whatever you want to call the energy that everything emanates from, created everything. As a matter of fact, it's in everything because it's energy. So this energy that everything emanates from, this intelligence that is infinitely creative, created the planet that we are on. That is the real world. The world that we see, the trees and everything that we experience as giving us sun, giving us light, giving us water, giving us food. That is the real world. And you might say, but we live on that planet. Well, yes, we live on that planet, but we don't understand the distinction between the real world that God gave us, pristine and infinite, without borders for all of us to roam and to enjoy and to experience, and the world that we need to leave behind, which is the world that the ego made. And the world that the ego made is simply nothing more than the man-made rules that separate the world, because the ego is coming from separation. The ego is the aspect of ourselves that is on the real world that God created, here to enjoy it. But because for thousands of years, we have had all of these different people that we look at, mother, father, teacher, preacher, and we look at them as separate. They all have different names. They all have different stories. And for thousands of years, we've been conditioned to believe that as humans, we're separate from the planet, separate from each other, separate from the water, from the air, that amongst ourselves, we're separate. We're separated by class, by religion, by ethnicity, by gender. We're separated by financial status. Because we believe that we're separate, those who think that they're superior, and of course, we're not going to get into this today, but the Course tells us what special relationships are all about. Special relationships are when we're trying to get something from somebody else that we think has something we want. Special love, I need to get love from you. You need to come and complete me, make me happy. Special love, the way we treat our children, you better make me look good. God knows I did that. I had 3 kids and I did that. You better make me look good. I want to make sure everybody in school knows I'm a good mom. Don't say that I didn't help, whatever it might have been. So special relationships is when we're trying to get from somebody that which we believe we don't have. Well, the earth that God gave us has everything we could possibly need to sustain these physical vessels for all of us to be totally happy. Well, we cannot enjoy this world that God created in a loving way because we have special relationships. We have special relationships with my house, my property, my city, my county, my country, my continent. So we have become so divided with specialness. And to cross the bridge, we need to see what specialness has cost us before we can move to the space of absolutely realizing that not only are we all made of the same thing, we're all equal in the eyes of God. We all have the ability to collaborate and co-create, but we have to make that choice to think with this thought system, because this thought system of the ego is divisive and it's selfish, it is greedy, and it comes from a sense of lack. There's not enough, so I better get my share, and I don't care if you don't get yours. Well, to understand the Course in Miracles is to understand that we're moving, we're shifting, we're creating a miracle for ourselves, shifting from a thought system that is incorrect, made up by humans who ourselves, thousands of years ago, made misperceptions. We perceived the world God created and began to think of it as, let's say came upon an apple tree and is coming upon the end of the apple season. Oh, there's not going to be any more apples. Well, yes, there's going to be more apples, but there are seasons to things. So instead of waiting for the next season and going to the next fruit after the apple season, we put a fence around the apple tree. This is my tree. This is mine. If you want some, you're going to pay for it so that I can make as much as I can while it's apple season. And little by little, we went into these transactional relationships instead of trading. Well, the apple's not, we don't have apples now. Take whatever you want now. Can you give me pears when it's pear season? Okay, I'll get the pears. When it's apple season again, come and get the apples. Instead of seeing the abundance in a way that we could share it, we saw what was happening and began to say, there's not enough, so I better get my share. And of course, some people who were craftier than others, for whatever reason, began to create the idea that, well, not only is this my apple tree, but this is my land and this is my province. And guess what? I'm going to be the king of it. And then everybody else who's not the king, you bow down to me. And I'll pick a few special people and I'll have you be in my court. And you can be my duke or my duchess, or you could be my whatever. And before we knew it, thousands of years later, we operate under made up rules and laws. That is what that shows us the world the ego made. It's not the earth, the real world that God gave us. So, as you've heard me say so many times, this decade, 2020, is the final bridge. And by final, I mean, because the Course in Miracles tells us that everything is cause and effect. And we get to experience the effect of what we as the creator want to cause. This is the final decade. You have to either make a choice to cross the bridge and align with God's truth, to move to the next level of consciousness, or you remain in the world that the ego made, operating from fear and separation as if it's your reality, and then you will experience the effect of that, because that is what you're believing as your reality. If you don't go on the bridge, you're not curious about something else. You have decided this is what is. And then what's going to happen is we're moving through a bifurcation. And I don't get into a lot of this because this is not the area of expertise for me. My area of expertise is understanding the ego and helping people cross the bridge. But I do know that the reason we have to cross the bridge is because just as apple season ends, we are going through the end of a cycle. And the end of the cycle is the completion. And it's not the end forever. It's just the completion of a cycle. And as I understand it, it's a 26,000 year cycle where you get to go to a next level of consciousness, or you lock yourself in for another 26,000 years, working through the karma that where you learn from cause and effect. In essence, you learn from fear. When you choose to go to the next cycle, so you leave apple season, okay, apple season is over, you move to pear season. Well, now in this next 26,000 year cycle that the Course is telling us is the great awakening that we're experiencing, in that next cycle, you will do all of your learning through love. There will be no competition, because this is where everyone understands that there's nothing that you would want to keep to yourself, because to withhold it from another is to withhold it from yourself. We know that we are one. We operate as one. Creativity is going to be flowing. Collaboration, cooperation. By the way, those communities, they've been here. They've existed forever. We call them indigenous people. We call them aborigines. We call them uncivilized. We call them all kinds of names to make this way of being not make sense. Well, you know that these people that have operated at that frequency have done so on this planet for 26,000 years. We are literally going to be joining their frequency. And we're going to be operating, not that we're going to go into the bush and become aborigines. We are literally going to finally accept the truth that they've been teaching, and we're going to apply it in the cities that we live in. And the governments are going to change, because the governments are going to be of the people of that consciousness, governing for people of that consciousness. Medicine is going to change. We are going to help we're going to be helped by providers of that expertise of healing. And guess what they're going to use? That which is natural. We're going to honor the immune system of the body. Education system is going to be all about bringing forth what is already inside of us. The old system, that world is going to keep playing out and it's going to have its own experience. But what you will see is a lot of the things, the structures of that the ego has made to keep us separated are collapsing because they're not sustainable. So let's hear what the Course has to say about why we want to make this transition. So we're going to go to chapter 16. Now I'm reading from section number 5. In my particular book, this is page 344. Section number 5, the title of it is the choice for completion. Now, we're not going to go to the beginning of that chapter because I just summarized that for you. The choice for completion. We are going to start in paragraph number 14. We have the ability to make a choice to remain here believing that there's something missing and we need a job to fill it. We need a partner to fill it. We need the government to make us safe. We need something external to heal us. We need some external institution to help us connect with God. We're always looking to complete ourselves because we think that something is not there. Or accept that you are already complete, whole and complete as God created you. The choice for completion is what has you begin the process of discover that there's got to be another way. You realize I've had the jobs, I've had the money, I've had the spouses, I've had the jewelry, I've been on New York Times bestseller, I've been on People magazine, I got the Oscars and I'm still not happy. I got 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion, I'm still not happy. Well, that is what sends most people on the bridge to discover there's got to be another way. So the choice for completion when you're studying the Course is to understand who you are as God created you. And that gets contrasted with who you think you are as the ego has made us. So this starts with, again, paragraph 14. Salvation lies in the simple fact that illusions are not fearful because they are not true. So salvation, according to the Course in Miracles, according to the guidance that I received, to save ourselves is to spare ourselves from the BS in our head. You can call it the belief systems or you can call it the bullshit. It's the lies that we have been believing, like, for example, that the king is in charge of everybody else. Who decided that? One person made that decision, or maybe 2 or 3. That was made up. That was not one of God's laws. That is why you cannot go back to the beginning of this earth and find a king anywhere. We don't see kings like we saw dinosaurs. That was not God's creation. Kings, queens, that kind of rulership, that began down the road. The communities were, even if they were cavemen, there was nobody that was in charge over anybody else. It was collaborative. You know who was in charge? The T-Rex who would eat you up if you didn't do your part. So we've got to get really comfortable with the idea that we're sifting the wheat from the chaff, the truth from the illusion. And when we get comfortable with that, the truth is not what we've been taught, then we've got to look at the illusion, the lies, as what we have been agreeing with that was true, but we're going to discover is made up. The process of discovering things got made up is a very uncomfortable process because awakening is a very destructive process because you're discovering a mask that you've been wearing, and the journey is about chipping away at it. It's destroying those mental concepts that hold us in low frequency, in lies and bondage. So salvation, sparing ourselves of the insanity that we have been in bondage in, lies in the simple fact that illusions made up by the ego are not fearful because they're not true. Now, from my personal experience, activated a lot of fear when I began to face the things that I thought were true, and they were being taken away, meaning I was going through the destruction of my insanity. I was going through the destruction of my fears. Well, as many of you know, when I went through a divorce from my former husband, Ken, I had to face a fear of another divorce, face a fear, oh, where's my money gonna come from? I gave up so much because this man said he wanted to take care of me. I bought into that illusion that somebody wanted to take care of me. So you're going to complete me, right? Thank you, Jerry Maguire. So as that marriage was breaking down, as the connection, the love that we had was being turned into a special relationship, because the ego got activated, his and mine. And for me, I had the ability to see my ego. So I was able to do some work while in the relationship to shift out of the specialness that was being created back into a holy relationship from my side. All of us are doing the work for ourselves. And from that place, we free the world, but we save ourselves, we spare ourselves the insanity. So it was very painful to go, oh, I don't have any money. Oh, I don't have a house to live in. All that got sold, all those things began to go away. And then, oh, I don't have a career. I let go of my center. I let go of so much of my coaching because I bought into the illusion that some man wanted to take care of me. So facing the rejection, the loss of all these safety things. So if I'm not experiencing this marriage, what's going to happen to my future retirement? We were going to retire together. And if we don't have our combined incomes and Social Security, I'm just going to have mine, and mine is not as much as it. All that bullshit that we get trained with to think that that is what life is all about. So during this little blip in time, this 100 years that we're here, we are conditioned and trained not only into separation, but into fearing that if we don't achieve, if we don't acquire, if we don't become, then we miss the boat. And that's not true. That is not true. In all of eternity, this is a little instant for us to play with what is here on this playground called Earth. This is the real world that if we learned how to play by God's rules, we would be playing in collaboration, co-creation. It would be so much fun, and it would be really easy because there would be no competition. There would be no hierarchy. We would have to communicate, to collaborate. It would be totally and completely different. But that is the world that you have to want to experience and choose to cross this bridge. So you need to realize that what is here is not true. Salvation, sparing yourself from the insanity, free myself from this idea of that belief system that not only my mother taught me, my grandmother taught me, the government taught me, my teachers taught me, the movies, the magazines, my friends, everybody teaches. Disney teaches you're going to be saved by some knight in shining armor. All right, sentence number 2 says, when we're starting to talk about the illusions, they but seem to be fearful to the extent to which you fail to recognize them for what they are. And you will fail to do this to the extent to which you want them to be true. Now, many people, and I'm going to speak specifically to spiritual people who have an awareness that we are divine, that there is another way. And so the mind is already somewhat trained into the truth, but still want the illusion to be real. I know this is not an easy thing to accept, but while we want the external to be true, that the money is what sustains me, that I need to have these things to be somebody, that I need to have a partner, whatever your truth is, that when you face it and it begins to appear that it's going to go away and it activates fear, that's how you know you're attached to the illusions of the ego to be true. If you're attached to the body, you don't want to get sick, you don't want to die, then you're operating inside of wanting this to be your reality. We are creators of our reality, meaning whatever we believe, we will experience as our truth. We will have the effect of it. Whatever it is that we give attention to, we are going to experience as if that is what it is. If you go out every day and you're chasing money, then that's the reality you want, is that you chase money to get it. In the world that we're headed to, we're going to be utilizing our imagination to create. You think it and it will show up. In the world that the ego made, we have been indoctrinated that you have to work to have things become your reality. Our ability to create has been slowed down, made so dense, made so challenging that it has enslaved us in a system of waiting for things to happen, which is why people grow up with this thought system. I did. You're going to work for 40, 50, 60 years of your life. Then you get to have fun. Then you can retire. Yeah, a lot of us know that we can go have fun on Friday night or Saturday or the weekend, or we don't necessarily live that way overall, but we are waiting for that day that, oh, we're going to get our little stipend from the government. Well, when we make that true, instant manifestation can't be true also. You might think it's true, but that's not what you are giving your energy to as the reality that you believe can happen. Listen, when I began to discover all of these things, I too was stuck inside of that dense thinking that I've got to go to the store and buy the stuff and bring it home and cook it, and then I'll have a meal. Versus, you know what? Like the Jetsons, I just want to imagine it, push a button, and boom, it's done. Well, in the 3D world that we are in, we slowed our frequency down to experience the process of having to and wait through time to experience things. Your mind is not going to allow you to have instant manifestation if you still believe that things take time. So you got to make a choice. You're either going to cross the bridge to the earth, to the world that God created and is true, and it is a world of belief. Well, excuse me, of belief that you are the creator of your reality, no exceptions. While you believe that somebody else has power over your reality, that the government has power over your reality, that the chemical spill has power over your reality, that the bombing in wherever has power over your reality, you're on this side of the bridge, trying to protect yourself, do the best that you can over here. The Course in Miracles is a manual to help us train our mind so that while we're in the 3D world, we can be in it, but not of it, because our mind is beginning to cause the 5D world that when we incarnate the next time, or in a couple more years, as things continue to progress and the bifurcation on this planet becomes even more evident, we are giving, through our mind, permission for this world to become a reality. And by the way, there are lots of people that this is their reality already. Like I said, the Aborigines already live in that consciousness. So if you let yourself begin to trust that this is possible, your mind is going to begin to, even if it's 10% of your imagination, believe that this is true, while 90% of your imagination is caught in the system that you have to work for your goods, that you have to do to get. Here, beingness is what allows you to experience. We have a while to go. Well, I'm not going to speak for you. For me, I'm still training my mind to live in that now moment, which is why I'm with my teacher, writer, to have that experience of living in the now. Because my goodness, when I need to go write something or go take care of business and he wants to play, I put everything away and I sit and I play. And it's such a beautiful experience that I missed with my children, because with my children, I was so busy trying to make things happen. And with Ryder, I'm just being in the moment. So sentence number 3 says, and to the same extent, you are denying truth and so are failing to make the simple choice between truth and illusion, God and fantasy, God and ego. Truth is that you are a powerful creator who has chosen to incarnate into an experience on this planet that God created, to slow down your frequency, operate in time and matter, and allow your mind to be trained by those who were here before you. That is what we had agreed to do when we chose to have this 3D experience. If you are done with that, been there, done that, and it's like, you know what, I don't want to live in this hierarchy anymore. I don't want to live with illusions. I don't want to have to wait 40 years to have fun. I don't want to have somebody complete me. I don't need to have the illusion of wealth. It doesn't matter to me. Then you are primed for this new earth that is forming right now. It's been forming for a while, but you have to make the choice. Is this what is really real for you? Then you've got to let go of the traps that make this world so appealing. Judgments of others is a trap. Belief in hierarchy. Some have more than others. Some deserve more than others. This insanity that we have been operating from, that is attempting to make one group special over another. Listen, I have a gay sister. I am all for diversity. I don't care who you want to have sex with. I don't care about any of that. Are you happy? Are the two of you happy? If that is something that between the two of you, you guys come to an agreement and you work it out however works for you, good for you. But when we attempt to say that only these two people, man and woman, are the only ones who can be married, that only the gays get to have a parade and they get to have pride. When we start creating these special groups that this is the right way and this is the wrong way, we're in the world of the ego, because God created us equal. And the only way for us to accept inequality is to listen to the voice of the ego. And to listen to the voice of the ego is to look to an external source to tell us what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is not. Humanity has been indoctrinated into believing what others tell us, into letting others make up rules and laws and regulations. Let me ask you a question. Wouldn't it make more sense if we said everybody is equal? Everybody gets to do whatever they want to do when it comes to who they marry, who they have sex with. If we said what you get to decide for yourself, then wouldn't there not be a need to have a special law for only men and women can get married? Then we wouldn't need to have a special law for this group to have permission to have a parade on a special day, or for this group to start acknowledging their bathroom choices. Wouldn't we become more accommodating if we were taking care of all of humanity? Then nobody would be fighting against one group over the other. We would all be supporting the same rights for ourselves as we want for the other. But because the mind gets conditioned into specialness, then we go into protecting mine versus yours. And that is part of the illusion. That is part of the trap. So we have to make the choice. Am I willing to give up specialness? Then I can't be more special than another. I can't be the one who decides, well, my body, my choice, but you don't get a choice over your body. I can't be the one that says, well, I get a special parade, but you don't get a parade. Oh, I get special treatment. I've got to, whatever it is, but you don't. That is what is coming to the surface in a really fast and furious way, that those who have laws for me, but not for you, specialness for me, but not for you, is coming to the surface, and we don't like it. Unless you are on the side where that law, that specialness protects you, which shows that you don't really know who you are, because you don't need to be protected by a human law when God's laws say that you are eternal and nothing can affect you. Well, if you don't operate in that level of freedom, that you're eternal and nothing can affect you, you are bound by some of the worldly laws as your reality, and you have attachments to that being what keeps you safe and protected. You don't really trust God 100%. So this is the work. Sentence number 4 says, remember this, and you will have no difficulty in perceiving the decision as just what it is and nothing more. It is a simple choice between truth and illusion, God and man-made ego stuff. Paragraph 15 says, the core of the separation illusion, meaning the belief in separation, lies simply in the fantasy of destruction of love's meaning. This is such an important, powerful statement in the Course in Miracles. The only way that the divisiveness is sustainable is because we have destroyed love's meaning. Think about that for a second. If we operated from real love, who would you say deserves to have more than another? You wouldn't do that. Who would you say should suffer and lose their country because we bomb it and we send them to become refugees all over the world, and they're marching for years without a place, without a home, beggars on the streets. Nobody wants them because, they have nothing to offer. Would you allow that man, woman, child to be a beggar on the street if you knew that we were all one? Because if you knew that that energy that they have begging on the street is actually putting forth frequency into your same energy, and it is what's holding all of us at that lower frequency of separation, you wouldn't do that. Because love says, do unto others as you like them do unto you. Love says, we're all in this together. We're all neighbors. We're all on the same playground. What can we do to make sure that these people don't lose their homes? Well, love would say, let's begin to work things backwards. Why were they displaced? Why did we have to have that war? Why? What are we warring about? Who said that we have to win and you have to lose? Who's making money off of this thing? Course in Miracles has us go backwards to look to see what we have created over time that have created the collective density that we are operating from today. So those who are crossing the bridge not only are clearing themselves internally so that we remember the truth of who we are collectively, many are being called to do things that ensure the equality for all. What that looks like today is many are taking a stand to get involved in politics, to get involved in school boards, to get involved in changing the medical system, to change the education system, to change how you treat your family. That is just as important as changing the political system, because we all become the change we want to see in the world. And if your family is raised with the awareness that this is a real world and you want to take care of it, and you're not going to allow chemtrails to be passing by, you're not going to buy into the pollution of the land, the pollution of the food, you really begin to move out of your little bubble where you don't want to see all the ugliness out there, which, by the way, is pure ego. The ego doesn't want to get involved with the darkness. But the thing is, we came here for 100-year period, a short blip in time, to make a difference, to get involved. We have physical bodies that go into action, and that action is as simple as stop judging others, stop believing somebody else has power over you, start your relationship with the truth and live it to the best of your ability every day. And when you can't, you forgive yourself. But the most important thing that we can do, that the Course wants us to do, is cross that bridge. Choose God or ego, truth or illusion. In your mind, get clear about what is true. Then nothing will be unacceptable to you. Some of you who were in my class last night, you know that we talked about that. Once nothing is unacceptable, meaning nothing, you're not judging anything, because you realize, oh, we do these things that are not nice to one another because it's by agreement. We bought into that. We gave that our attention. We gave that our energy. So it became dense for us to have it as our reality, perceived reality, reality with a little r. Now, if this liberation, freedom, sovereignty is the reality that you prefer, reality with a capital R, you must acknowledge that this is what is true. Stop judging the old. Stop denying that it is there, and see that when we honor the ego, we co-create density. We co-create something that is going to experience the suffering that this world is doing, because the world that the ego made is about suffering. Why? Because we have destroyed love's meaning. We don't really love each other. We love ourselves. The ego is all about me. If we loved each other, we would want to know what is happening in Ohio. What is polluting that air? We would want to be active, at least in the awareness of what has happened, so that when we, as participants in this world, go to the polling place and we get to do a vote, we now begin to vote with education, with awareness about what's really happening, not because we've been conditioned into this party versus that party. We are going to be getting rid of the two-party system because it is divisive. We want to be educated in who is representing we the people in a loving way that cares about we the people. That means these people are going to have to be totally, completely transparent, because we, as we move into God's truth, we don't need divisiveness. We don't need lies. We don't need separation. We don't need darkness. That doesn't exist. We communicate, and in communication, there has to be transparency, because from the transparency comes the trust that allows for the communication to lead into collaboration. And if we're collaborating, nobody's going to be left behind, because everybody is recognized as an equal member of the community, of the brotherhood, the sisterhood. That is what love's meaning is all about. That we enter into the process of the 3D world into separation to have an experience, to bring love and light, to help all those who are prepared to cross the bridge, because we know before we incarnate that we're going through the completion of a cycle. Apple season is coming to an end. It's pear time. The 26,000 year cycle is coming to an end of 3D density, and there are those who are ready to move to the higher frequency. It's not that God is saying, oh, you people get to cross the bridge and you don't. Not at all. It's by choice. If I would have circled all the words, the times that choice is said in A Course in Miracles, it would be hundreds, if not 1,000, because it's all about free will. It is all about choice. Crossing the bridge is a choice to see things differently. Crossing the bridge is a choice to return to what real love is all about, meaning we do not deny the suffering of anybody. We do not condone it. We're not going to condone suffering, but we're going to recognize that everybody who is in this density, they have the choice to cross the bridge. However, how are they going to know that that is a choice unless some of us become examples of that choice? That's why people follow teachers. They see, wow, look at that I like that system of doing business, or I like that system of running a whatever, of spirituality. Ooh, I like that system of sewing. I like that system of fixing cars. We follow the one that we see is doing the thing that seems to feel good to our hearts. That is a loving act, to be here and express ourselves so that others can see what it is that we are experiencing. So as we cross on this bridge, we have an important role to play, and that is to shine our light fully, to speak of the truths that we have discovered, to speak of our sovereignty, to acknowledge that God created us equal, to experience life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when you stand that grounded in the truth of who you are, you don't look at the insanity in the world and condone it. But you don't judge it either, because when you don't judge it and you accept, okay, that's what's happening, let me bring another option, not to take away their choice if they want to stay in that frequency, but to give them an option so that those who are ready for another choice but don't know what that looks like can make the choice. We are here to help one another. And unless, this is in paragraph 15, let me read the first sentence. The core of separation's illusion lies simply in the fantasy of the destruction of love's meaning. Sentence 2, and unless love's meaning is restored to you, you cannot know yourself who share its meaning. Separation is only the decision not to know yourself. When we incarnate into the 3D world, we choose to not know that we are divine and non-physical. We choose not to remember that so we can have the human physical experience. What a wonderful thing. Absolutely so cool that we come in specifically for that. So what has happened is that as we move into this completion of a cycle and into the next cycle, we who have agreed to come in to wake up in this lifetime, it is part of our role. Course in Miracles says that the salvation of our brothers depends on us, meaning if we stand for the truth of who we are, if we speak it and walk it and talk it as Jesus did, as Gandhi did, as Martin Luther King Jr. did, as many are doing today. Many are doing it today. They just don't get the big showing on the news. But if you walk among your family, among your friends, among your neighborhood as one who knows that the suffering of others is by choice, that it's a choice you don't want to continue to participate in, that you have discovered that there is another way of sovereignty, that there is a way of equality, that there is a way of collaboration and transparency, and you stand for that, you are helping the brothers and the sisters who are relying on somebody going ahead of them on the bridge so that they can see, oh, I want to go in that direction. Don't every single one of us make decisions oftentimes based on, well, let me look on Google and see their reviews. Well, we are the review for do people want to cross this bridge to the new earth or not? Many of us have been called crazies. That's why very few have wanted to go down this path, because people like Jesus, they got crucified. People like Martin Luther King Jr., they got shot. Gandhi got shot. So many who have gone down the path of sovereignty are called conspiracy theories, or they're called, crazy people, or they're called troublemakers, or they're called instigators. The more that I study the history, specifically here in America, the more I'm discovering that people that I grew up to think they were kooks were actually crossing that bridge, and they were speaking about it. But see, it's not convenient for those who have created a system where they're on top and everybody else is at the bottom. It's not convenient for those on top to have people leave, because if people leave, guess what? They're going to have to drop. They won't be on top. They'll be on top of what? Of nothing. So it's part of the process to realize that we have a role to play if we feel called to it. Course in Miracles says all are called to know the truth. Some will listen to it, fewer still will action it. When I read that, I wanted to fall to my knees and cry that all of us are called to remember the truth. We have it inside of us. We know something is off. Some will say, okay, let me go find another way. And few still will show the way by living from that place. Guess what that does? It's like a beacon of light that the others can see. Nobody wants to be enslaved in the 3D world. Nobody wants to be a have-not. Nobody wants to be considered less than. Nobody wants to be in suffering. However, how do they know that there is another way if that's not shown to them? That's what so many of my teachers did for me early on in my journey. When I was beginning to experience my awakening, I had people that I could talk to. There were places in Atlanta that I could go to and began the process of undoing my insanity. First, I began to see I was insane, then began the process of undoing it. So sentence number 3, separation is only the decision not to know yourself. So unity is the decision to know who you are, but so is your brother and sister. We are all one and the same. We are pure essence, pure consciousness, that has manifested in this world, incarnated here for an experience. Do you want the experience to continue to be of suffering? Don't cross the bridge. You're going to get another 26,000 years of it. It's a cycle. You're done with suffering, cross the bridge and stand over here, shine your light brightly so that others can find their way. Don't you want to have more friends over here in this playground? That's what I want. But I also respect the friends that don't want to cross the bridge, because that's what love does. The true meaning of love is acceptance. And when you love, you accept everybody, but you don't have to participate in that game. You don't have to. Love, as we read last week, love is freedom. When you cross the bridge, you realize love is what frees all of us. But you've got to start with you. You've got to make the decision to know yourself and know that you're a loving being. Once that love gets activated, you become compassionate. You forgive others. You become willing to share. You become, as the Course in Miracles tells us in the characteristics of a teacher of God, you become generous. Why would you have haves and have-nots in the new earth? It's not possible. When you're generous, you share. We all take care of each other. You can have my apples this season, you share your pears the next one. And before you know it, throughout the whole year, all of us can eat. We just eat different things during different seasons, and we benefit from this beautiful planet of diversity that was gifted to us by an infinite creator that adores us. So we've got to get right with what God is all about so that we can be able to experience the meaning of real love. And we have been loved so fully by God, given everything that we could possibly want, including the freedom to not remember who we are and to experience lack while we're here for this tiny little blip of time. The next sentence says, this whole thought system is a carefully contrived learning experience designed to lead away from truth and into fantasy. Separation is only a decision not to know yourself, and this whole thought system of the ego is contrived, meaning made up, carefully made up as a learning experience, designed to lead you away from the truth, made up to pull you over here. Because as people move down this bridge and begin to know the truth, they're either discarded, called crazies or whatever, or few go that we don't really hear about them. They're not the ones in the New York Times bestseller. We don't talk about the people who go over there and really live in freedom. Not so much, not before. Now we are, because it is evident that this learning system that has been made up enslaves humanity. And the idea of separation that is loveless, which is why we operate with fear being predominant. If you don't pay your taxes, you're afraid you're going to go to jail. The IRS is going to come after you. That's why this administration hired, what was it, 80,000 new IRS agents and armed them, and it is arming them, giving them guns to go after the citizens that don't pay their taxes. But yet, in our Constitution, income taxes is not something that should be happening. So how did we get to income taxes when the Constitution says we shouldn't pay? Your income should not be taxed. You should be taxed as a contributing participant for the fixing of the roads through your, if you got a car, then you buy your car, you pay taxes through that. You through the food, you pay for taxes at the grocery store, and then that goes to do whatever needs to be done to create the systems that oversee all of that. So we have so many beautiful, powerful, wonderful ways of supporting one another. But is it done through the ego, or is it done through God? Is it fear-based, or is it love-based? Is it in bondage and slavery? And yes, what has happened to humanity when you follow the teachings of the ego is you're enslaved into a contrived thought system that makes you believe you're what you're not. Think about it for a second. If you don't remember who you are, then you're enslaved in a delusion. To move to the other side, we need examples. And those who are committed to being the examples, whether you write books or teach courses or just talk to your friends and neighbors or family in a loving way, you're becoming an example of a new way. So sentence number 5, this is the last sentence in this paragraph. Yet for every learning that would hurt you, that the ego creates to hurt us, God offers you correction and complete escape from all of its consequences. That is what's so exciting about crossing the bridge. Because if we cross the bridge, if we choose to make a decision to return to love, to want to know the ways of God, to want to know what the real earth is all about, God's creation of this earth. If we really want to know the truth of who we are, all it takes is a decision. But I know that that is a very challenging decision for one who thinks that this is what is real, that these are the laws that they should abide by, because it's what they've always done. It's what mama did. It's what papa did. It's what grandparents did. It's what generations have done. If we continue to agree to do what's been done, that's insanity. Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It really takes a lot of courage. As you all know, when I show my graphs, courage is necessary to cross the line that starts the process on that bridge towards liberation. And to be able to experience the liberation that is our birthright, it requires that we remember who we are. We are beings of love and light, eternal, here for a blip in time to shine our light, to help more cross the bridge so we have more friends on the playground. This is a defining decade. Nobody in eternity is going to be left behind, because there's going to be another cycle that these get an opportunity to join, not to join, but to move to the next evolutionary level in consciousness if they want to. And there are those who are going to choose to go to lower evolutionary levels of consciousness, because we are loved infinitely and given the opportunity to go as far away from the truth as we want to. Because no matter how far we go away from the truth in our mind, we will never leave where we are in truth with God, which is in God's heart. We cannot not be in God's imagination, because we are being thought into existence by a creative source. What happens to us is that when we think we're separate from that source, we then begin the descent, the fall of man, if you want to call it that, the descent into the lower densities. And that is not a bad thing. It's a choice. But once you're done with that choice, like an old outfit, you don't want to wear it again, because there are some new things you might want to try. Well, there's a new dimension for those who are ready to try something new and stop like a hamster on a wheel going around in circles and having the same results. I don't want to operate from the things of the world. As a matter of fact, I stopped operating from many of the things that the world says I'm supposed to do, because as I began to lose fear, I'm not worried about the government. I'm not afraid of them. Not at all, because I know where my protection comes from, and it's in knowing the truth of who I am. So with that, let's open this up. Did anybody get any nuggets you might want to share with the rest of us? I'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for joining us. You have to unmute yourselves if you want to share. And if you don't unmute, that's okay. I am so grateful that you come and spend Wednesdays with me, 12 o'clock Eastern time. It's 10 o'clock here, Mountain Time for me. And we talk about A Course in Miracles. I am inspired to share whatever flows through me. If you enjoy this transmission, please share it with others. It's if you're finding me for the first time, I also have a website, lainaorlando.com, and I have a YouTube channel, Laina Orlando, and I love sharing what continues to transform my life. Crystal, are you going to say something? Let's get you unmuted there. There you go.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I certainly enjoyed the everything that you've shared, but you said something which was a nice reminder nugget where you said everybody is invited to connect with their divine nature.
Yeah.
And but not everybody answers the call. And I know for myself, it depends where I am in my evolution, whether I'm going to answer or not, And I know I've been in that. I have such a strong sense of having many lifetimes where I didn't answer the call. I just enjoyed whatever it was I was doing in the physical, and knowing that now I'm needing to do some answering. It's not easy to always answer, but I'm doing my best.
And that's exactly it. We have to give ourselves grace. I've done many things where I chose with my ego over, the greater good for all. I chose selfishly, but those are the choices that gave me the contrast that have helped me realize that I don't want to continue to choose just for me, because if I choose just for me, that means in the world of me winning, somebody has to lose. And if somebody's losing, it's contributing to the density that has kept this planet stuck in this vibration of haves and have-nots. And it takes what appears to be time to move into the creation of the new world, but it's going to require many, many of us to collaborate, to stand together, to unify and demand that all are treated equally, because all are equal as we've been created by God. And the reason that is so difficult to move out of our selfish, I got to take care of my family, take care of my business, take care of my retirement, take care of my pension, take care of me, is because we've been indoctrinated that way. And to return to the truth of our oneness is to begin to understand love. And that's why the idea of love according to the ego is meaningless, because it only means something to me, not to the collective. And God's way of love is you can choose for all mankind. As a matter of fact, when we choose for all mankind, it's so much more fun and easier, because, we then help one another. You're not alone in battling the system, if you will. You're collectively standing together. And by the way, the systems of the ego will fall like that when those of us who decide we don't want to play that game anymore stand together and say, no, I'm not going to do it. You don't scare me. Nothing scares those who think that they are in control more than people not being scared of them. Because how can they control them there? So thank you for your comment. Who else? Anybody else want to share? And if not, we will see you next week. Hopefully you will tell your friends or share with others that you think might enjoy these messages, and let's grow the community. Thank you all for being here with me today on the 22nd. And today is a big energy day, 22-23. More intensification of energy. Why? Because those who made a decision to wake up in this lifetime are being given the energetic impetus to wake up. Because if you said, I'm going to come in, please remind me that of who I am, you're getting the energetic push to remember. But it's your choice to then turn, go on that bridge or not. All right. Love you all so much. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Laina.
Of course. Bye-bye.